Alright, let's not beat around the bush here. Most MMOs suck. They either look like crap, they play like crap, or they have money-hungry studios seeking to milk its players with their horrendous predatory business models. Which, I guess if we think about it, is kind of why the genre is in such a sad, stagnant state right now, huh? Imagine if these game studios made good games and cared about the longevity of their product as opposed to their short-term financial return. In a sea of mediocrity, very few games tend to stand out, but several do and have proceeded to make a name for themselves. These games have left their mark on history and continue to garner the attention, the time, and the resources of talented staff and loyal players. These MMOs are arguably some of the only titles that are worth left playing. These are as of the end of 2022, most played MMORPGs sorted by least to most popular. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends, seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow Mrs. Sticks and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. This video is tallying together the cumulative total number of global players for MMOs that have global releases. So, many games that have Japanese or Korean or Chinese exclusive releases are purposefully omitted. Now let's start this off with EVE Online. EVE is an MMO that I feel like nobody ever plays, that nobody ever fully understands. It looks and feels so niche, a sci-fi MMO that takes place predominantly within space. It doesn't feature your typical created character, your traditional world to explore with towns, quest hubs, and monsters to kill for townsfolk. Instead, you have a large sandbox universe and you just kind of exist doing anything that you want. That kind of freedom is hard to replicate or compete with. The total number of concurrent players that are logged in seems to be at approximately 20,000 to 30,000 daily. That is including alternate characters, of course. This likely means that there is upwards of 100,000 active players per month, but unlikely to be much more. RUNESCAPE is probably older than the majority of you, let's be honest here, and has somehow retained a player base larger than almost any other MMO in the entire history of the genre. This is a game with an incredible world size, with limitless content that can satiate the thirst of any type of player. Life skillers, PvPers, competitive PvEers. What makes RUNESCAPE such an interesting title is its ability to have two varying versions of the game running concurrently. Granted, old school RUNESCAPE is the more popular of the two versions by several times actually. This is a game with more things to do than you have time to do them, which is, I guess, both a pro and a con depending on how your life looks. RUNESCAPE, both versions have a cumulative total number of concurrent logged in players averaging 80,000 to 130,000 at its peak, which means we're looking at roughly 200,000 to 300,000 active monthly players. ALBION Online is one of the only full loop PvP MMOs currently available, and honestly there's a reason for that. Most people just don't like losing their shit, but some people, they actually enjoy the challenge, and this is the perfect outlet for that. ALBION features a large sandbox world. It has very limited hand-holding, meaning that those of us that like having direction from level 1 through endgame are going to feel a little bit out of place. There's a substantial number of things to do in the game: PvP, crafting, life skilling. Admittedly, the focus of the game is largely on these three features, aiding in setting this apart from the vast majority of its competition. Back in 2020, the game was confirmed to have 350,000 active monthly players. This year, while the game has definitely seen a form of decline, there has been a confirmation that there are still over 250,000 monthly active players. The Elder Scrolls Online is an MMO set within the larger Elder Scrolls world, featuring recurring characters and fan favorites like Sheogorath, zones that players have spent decades exploring, recreated. This is an Elder Scrolls game that has players occupy a shared world. Rather than be an MMO first and an RPG second, this is an RPG first and an MMO second. And that sets a fun, unique precedent for the game and for the genre that ultimately provides a much higher quality experience than almost any other MMO available. In terms of active players, The Elder Scrolls Online is a difficult title to judge. On the one hand, the devs never really reveal any type of statistic that would aid in getting an accurate gauge of active players. However, they confirmed earlier this year that they had crossed 19 million unique total sales since launching. A variety of different websites claim anywhere from 200,000 to 300,000 active players per month, and I'd say given the types of activity found in-game, that's probably not far from being accurate. Black Desert Online holds the current record for both the most stunning MMORPG currently available and what is arguably the most fluid, fastest, high-quality action combat that you'll probably come across. It also has a monstrously large world with limitless enemies and land to explore, providing us infinite freedom to play however we want. With open world PvP, a ton of life skills, breeding and raising horses, crafting, you'll really never find yourself without things to do, even if you were to try. Last year, Pearl Abyss confirmed that they had over a few 100,000 active players per month. A few months ago, Pearl Abyss confirmed that they had recently seen a net increase of 230% via North America and Europe. If there were 200,000 active players last year, a 230% increase would increase that to 460,000 monthly active players. But they noted a few 100,000, so we're likely looking at something more closely resembling 600,000 active monthly players or more, which is kind of unreal given that this game is a decade old now. Guild Wars 2 is riding a high after recently launching their End of Dragons expansion, and it is well deserved. Guild Wars 2 is an incredibly unique MMO, providing an experience unlike any other. From its leveling, exploring the world, finding vistas, points of interest, hero points, to seeking out and frustratingly attempting to and failing the countless jumping puzzles that plague the world, to the manual level limitations imposed on every zone in the game, preventing players from over-leveling and becoming too powerful. Everything about this game helps elevate it as one of the most unique MMORPGs that you will probably ever play. Regarding its player base, it currently varies according to 4 different trackers and several different websites. End of Dragons was averaging anywhere from 700,000 to 1 million active players the month that it launched. But since launching, it has seen anywhere from a 30% to 50% drop, bringing the population to anywhere from 350,000 to 750,000 active monthly players. Lost Ark is a top-down isometric MMO that just released earlier this year, and while it has lost over 75% of its player base since launching, a large percentage of which happen to be bots, the game still continues to be one of the most successful free MMOs available. Admittedly, there aren't very many MMOs in Lost Ark's playstyle. Top-down isometric MMOs are almost an extinct type of style, and Korean MMOs just aren't really very well received in this day and age, but Lost Ark excels at what it does right, providing a large world to explore, fantastic action combat, a lot of cooperative content, and a stunning graphical style. While it's impossible to say how many active players the North American and European versions of the game have in total, Smilegate did confirm, more or less, that there were likely over 750,000 monthly active players across every region combined, bringing this into what is easily one of the 5 most popular MMOs in the world. Tower of Fantasy launched a month and a half ago to over 6 million players. That was the largest globally accessible cross-platform MMO launch in recorded history, and the first of many to come. I was considering including Diablo Immortal here, but it was blocked in several major markets, so I don't really think it counts. Tower of Fantasy is the only cross-platform MMO in this list, and is arguably the only anime MMO to have an active population above, like 20,000 active monthly players. This game is most easily explained as, if Genshin Impact were an MMO. It has a massive, seamless open world to explore, action combat, a robust character creator, waifus you can pull for with its gacha, and a time-gated story that has you wait days before being able to continue to the next stage. And while both earnings and active players have dropped quite significantly, it is still averaging over 1 million monthly players as of its 2nd month of release. This will likely continue to decline, but not enough to where it'll fall out of the top 5 before the new year. Over the last year, Final Fantasy XIV had successfully dethroned World of Warcraft as the #1 most populated MMORPG in the West. an accomplishment that no other MMO before it has successfully achieved. And it stood to reason. The game is gorgeous. It has a narrative unlike any other, the same style of tab target combat, an extensive number of classes, a world that only continues to grow in size and scale with every new expansion. Final Fantasy XIV is the very pinnacle of the genre. There is not another MMO around that can compare. Unfortunately, since it has been, well, quite a number of months since the critically acclaimed Endwalker expansion released, active subscriptions for the game have dropped. Some websites estimate over 2 million active subscribers still, but it's impossible to really say. Estimates put the game at anywhere between 1 million to 2 million, however. As World of Warcraft prepares for its Dragonflight expansion and the Wrath of the Lich King Classic release, active subscriptions for the game have skyrocketed. When Legion launched, there were tens of millions of players logging in within the first week, but after the more recent Shadowlands disaster, that might not be the case this time around. WoW has been the benchmark for MMOs since its release. Every MMO is trying to replicate its success. The same type of combat, the same type of world, the same type of graphical style. The faction versus faction warfare. Some MMOs like Alod's actually took things a little far, but I understand why they all trying to copy WoW. For over a decade, it reigned supreme as the MMO that every other studio wished they were. WoW is an incredibly large MMO with an enormous world, the best tab target combat in the genre, and more to offer players than you'll ever truly realize until you've played it. And with WoW Classic, including each expansion's classic variants, it's no wonder the game has shot back up to several million active players. How long that'll last, though, remains to be seen, however. And those are the 10 most populated MMORPGs currently approaching the end of 2022. These might change over the next few months, who knows, but right now, if you're looking for an MMO with active players that won't die anywhere in the immediate future, these are your choices. Have fun. Now, if you're looking for something new that might reignite that passion you have for the genre, check out this list of confirmed MMOs releasing this year in 2022, or alternatively, this list of upcoming gacha games releasing before the year ends.